My husband's ex-wife showed up at our house at 2 a.m. screaming that she's pregnant with his baby. My husband swears he hasn't seen her in 5 years. I made them both take a DNA test. When the results came back, everything I thought I knew about my marriage was a lie. I, 32F, am writing this at 4 a.m. because I can't sleep. I genuinely don't know if my marriage is over or if something even worse is happening. My husband, Blake, 35M, and I have been married for 3 years, together for 5. He was previously married to Vanessa, 34F, for 6 years before they divorced about 8 years ago. Blake has always told me the divorce was amicable, they just grew apart and wanted different things. No kids, clean break, minimal contact since. 2 nights ago at 2 a.m., I woke up to someone pounding on our front door and screaming. I mean screaming. Blake woke up too, and we both ran downstairs terrified someone was hurt or there was an emergency. Blake opened the door, and there was Vanessa. I'd seen her in photos, but never met her in person. She was hysterical, crying, makeup running down her face, and very visibly pregnant, like 7 to 8 months pregnant. She lunged at Blake screaming, "How could you? How could you do this to me?" Blake caught her arms and said, "Vanessa, what are you doing here? What's going on?" She sobbed and said, "I'm pregnant, Blake, with your baby, and you've been ignoring my messages for months." I felt like someone punched me in the stomach. Blake's face went completely white. He said, "What? No, that's impossible. I haven't seen you in 5 years. I haven't even talked to you in 5 years. Vanessa said, "Don't lie to me. Don't you dare lie to me." She turned to me and said, Did you know your husband has been cheating on you with me?" I couldn't speak. I just stared. Blake said, "I have not been cheating. Vanessa, I don't know what's going on, but you need to calm down and explain what you're talking about." She pulled out her phone with shaking hands and showed us a text thread. Messages between her and someone saved as Blake in her phone. Flirty messages. Messages about meeting up. Messages from 9 months ago that were explicit. Sexual. Definitely not appropriate messages between exes. But Blake was looking at the messages like he'd never seen them before in his life. He pulled out his phone and showed his text thread with Vanessa. The last message was from 6 years ago, a brief exchange about finalizing divorce paperwork. Nothing since. I looked at both phones. The messages on Vanessa's phone were supposedly from Blake's number. I checked. It was his actual number, but they weren't on his phone at all. Blake said, "I never sent these messages. I don't know how they're on your phone, but I didn't send them." Vanessa said, "Then who did?" "The baby daddy fairy." "Blake, I'm pregnant. This is your baby. We slept together in January. You told me you made a mistake marrying her, that you still loved me." Blake looked absolutely panicked. He said, "I never said that. I've never said that. I love my wife. Vanessa, I swear to God, I haven't seen you or contacted you in years." This went back and forth for 20 minutes. Vanessa sobbing, Blake denying everything, me standing there in complete shock wondering if my husband had been living a double life. Finally, I said, "Everyone stop. Vanessa, come inside. We need to figure this out, because clearly something is very wrong here." We all sat in the living room. It was surreal. My husband, his pregnant ex-wife, and me at 2:30 a.m. trying to piece together what was happening. Vanessa told us that 9 months ago, Blake started texting her. First just checking in, then more frequently, then flirting. She said the texts were in his voice. References to their marriage, inside jokes, specific details only Blake would know. She said they met up 3 times in January. Hotels. She said she didn't know he'd remarried, even though our wedding was 7 years after their divorce ended, and we posted about it publicly. Blake denied all of it. Every word. He showed her his phone, his location history, his text records, everything. Nothing matched what she was saying. The dates she claimed they met up, Blake was with me or at work with documented proof. But the texts on her phone were real, from his number, with details that seemed impossible for a stranger to know. I asked the obvious question. Could someone have cloned Blake's number? Vanessa looked at me like I was grasping at straws. Blake looked thoughtful and said, "I mean, maybe, but who would do that? And how would they know details about our marriage?" Then something occurred to me. I asked Vanessa, "The person you met up with in January, did you see him face to face?" She hesitated. She said, "The first time, yes. The second 2 times, no. He said he wanted to keep it discreet, so we'd meet at hotels, but he'd text me the room number and be in the bathroom when I arrived. Then we'd, in the dark. He said it was more exciting that way." Blake and I looked at each other. I said, "You had sex with someone you didn't see? In the dark?" She got defensive. It was Blake. I know my ex-husband's voice, his body, his everything. Blake said, "Vanessa, that wasn't me. Someone is pretending to be me. Someone who knows about our past. She broke down crying again. Then who? Who would do this? I'm pregnant. I said, we need to take a DNA test. Blake will take a paternity test. If he's not the father, then we know for sure someone was impersonating him. Vanessa agreed immediately. Blake agreed. We scheduled it for first thing in the morning. Vanessa left and Blake and I stayed up the rest of the night. He swore up and down he'd been faithful. He showed me everything on his phone, his computer, his accounts. No deleted messages. No hidden apps. No suspicious activity. Either he was the world's best liar and tech expert, or he was telling the truth. I wanted to believe him. But a pregnant ex-wife showing up with his texts and intimate details doesn't exactly scream innocent mistake. The next morning, we all met at a DNA testing facility. They did a prenatal paternity test, non-invasive, just blood from Vanessa. Results would take 3 to 5 days, but we paid extra for a rush, 48 hours. Those 48 hours were hell. Blake slept on the couch, even though I didn't ask him to. He kept saying, I didn't do this, but I understand if you don't believe me. I'll prove it. Vanessa called 3 times crying, apologizing, saying she didn't know what to believe anymore. I actually felt bad for her. If someone was impersonating Blake, she was as much a victim as anyone. Yesterday morning, the results came. Blake is not the father. 0% match. I felt this massive relief. Blake started crying. Vanessa, who we'd put on speakerphone, said, then who? Who did this to me? That's when Blake's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered on speaker. A man's voice said, did you get the DNA results? Surprised. Blake said, who is this? The voice laughed. Come on, Blake. Don't you recognize your own brother? Blake went pale. He said, Tyler. I knew Blake had an older brother, Tyler, 38M. They'd been estranged for years. Blake barely talked about him. I'd never met him. Tyler said, that's right. How's Vanessa doing? How's my baby? Blake stood up, furious. What did you do? Tyler said, I did what you deserved. You ruined my life, so I decided to ruin yours. Vanessa was so easy. She wanted to believe you still loved her. A few texts from your number, some details about your marriage that I remember, and she was ready to jump back into bed with me. In the dark, we sound pretty similar, don't we? Same height, same build, same family DNA. I felt sick. Blake said, you cloned my number? You pretended to be me? You got my ex-wife pregnant to what? Get revenge. Tyler said, you got me fired 6 years ago. You told my boss about my drinking problem, and I lost everything. My career, my marriage, my kids don't talk to me. I've been waiting for the right way to pay you back. Blake said, you were drinking on the job. You were dangerous. I reported you because you were going to hurt someone. Tyler said, you destroyed me. So I destroyed you. Or at least I tried. Looks like wifey is sticking around though. Shame. Maybe I need to try harder. The line went dead. Blake immediately called the police. We filed a report for harassment, fraud, identity theft, and God knows what else. They said they'd investigate, but Tyler had been careful. The texts were from spoofed numbers. The hotel rooms were paid in cash. He'd been smart about covering his tracks. Vanessa came over an hour later. She was devastated. She'd been manipulated, used, and impregnated by her ex-husband's psychotic brother as part of a revenge plot. She kept apologizing to both of us. She said Tyler had been so convincing, so detailed in his texts. She said she thought Blake had realized he'd made a mistake leaving her. The 3 of us sat in my living room and pieced together everything. 6 years ago, Blake had reported Tyler to his employer. They worked at the same company for showing up drunk. Tyler was fired, his wife divorced him, and he blamed Blake for everything rather than taking responsibility for his alcoholism. Tyler had apparently been planning this revenge for years. He'd gotten a new phone, cloned Blake's number using software you can buy online, and spent months grooming Vanessa through text before finally meeting her. He knew enough about Blake and Vanessa's marriage to be convincing. He made sure to keep his face hidden during their encounters. He got her pregnant intentionally. His plan was simple: destroy Blake's marriage by making me think he'd been cheating with his ex-wife. Destroy Vanessa by making her think Blake had used her and abandoned her while pregnant. Maximum damage to both of them. It almost worked. The police are investigating. We've given them everything. The texts, the phone records, Tyler's confession on the call, which Blake recorded, thankfully. They said they'd contact Tyler, but warned us that some of this might be hard to prosecute. Vanessa is 8 months pregnant with Tyler's baby. She's in therapy. She's devastated. She came to us because she has no one else. Tyler isolated her during his manipulation, and her family is across the country. Blake and I told her we'd help her however we could. None of this is her fault. Blake is furious and heartbroken. Tyler is his brother. They grew up together. Blake said he knew Tyler was angry about being fired, but he never imagined this level of revenge. He's blaming himself for not seeing the signs, for not protecting me and Vanessa from Tyler's psychosis. I'm processing everything. My husband didn't cheat, but his brother is a sociopath who orchestrated an elaborate revenge plot that almost destroyed our marriage. I don't know how to feel about any of it. We've blocked Tyler on everything. We've installed security cameras. We're looking into restraining orders. Blake's parents, who are already estranged from Tyler due to his behavior, are horrified and supportive. But I keep thinking, what if I hadn't pushed for the DNA test? What if I'd just believed Vanessa and left Blake? What if Blake had been a little less transparent with his phone? Tyler's plan could have worked perfectly. And now there's a baby coming, Blake's niece or nephew, who's the product of this sick revenge plot. Vanessa doesn't know if she wants to keep the baby. She doesn't know if she can look at this child without thinking about Tyler's manipulation. I don't even know what I'm asking Reddit. I guess I just needed to write this all out because it feels like a nightmare I can't wake up from. My marriage survived, but at what cost? What do we even do now? Final update, 3 weeks later. A lot has happened, and I wanted to give closure to anyone following this absolute nightmare. The police investigation. Tyler was arrested last week. The police charged him with identity theft, fraud, stalking, and several other crimes. The recorded phone call, where he confessed, was crucial evidence. They also found the apps he used to spoof Blake's number and recovered deleted messages from Tyler's devices that proved he'd been planning this for over a year. Tyler tried to claim it was all a prank and that Vanessa was in on it. Vanessa's lawyer shut that down immediately with evidence of her genuine distress and the manipulative texts. Tyler's public defender told him to take a plea deal. His trial is in a few months. Vanessa's situation. Vanessa had her baby girl last week. She named her Hope because she said she needs to believe something good can come from this nightmare. She's keeping the baby. She's in intensive therapy and has a good support system now, including her family, who flew in to help. She and Blake have established firm boundaries. They're friendly because of the circumstances, but they're not friends. She's grateful for our support during the pregnancy, but she's building her own life separate from us. Blake has made it clear he's not interested in being involved with Hope beyond basic family civility. He's not the father, and Tyler's actions don't create an obligation. Vanessa understands and respects that. Blake and me, we're in couples therapy. Even though Blake didn't actually cheat, the trauma of that night and the aftermath has affected us both. Blake carries guilt that his brother targeted me and Vanessa. I have residual trust issues even though logically I know Blake did nothing wrong. But we're working through it. Our therapist said what we experienced is a form of psychological terrorism. Tyler weaponized intimacy, trust, and family relationships to cause maximum harm. Healing from that takes time. Blake has cut off his entire side of the family except his parents. He said he can't risk Tyler using any other relatives to get to us again. His parents understand and have done the same. The aftermath. We moved. New house, new neighborhood. Too many memories in the old place, and we wanted a fresh start somewhere Tyler doesn't know. We've upgraded our security significantly. Cameras, alarms, privacy settings on everything. Blake changed his phone number entirely. We're both hypervigilant in ways we never were before. I've learned some hard lessons about how vulnerable we all are to technology-based manipulation. Tyler cloned a phone number using a $30 app. He spoofed texts that looked completely legitimate. He exploited Vanessa's residual feelings and Blake's past to create a weapon of emotional destruction. If I hadn't insisted on the DNA test, our marriage would be over. Blake would be fighting paternity claims. Vanessa would believe Blake had abandoned her while pregnant. Tyler would have gotten exactly what he wanted. Final thoughts. This experience has taught me that sometimes the truth is stranger and more twisted than any lie. It's taught me to trust but verify. It's taught me that family can be your biggest threat. And it's taught me that my marriage is stronger than I thought. We survived something that would have destroyed most couples. To anyone reading this, protect your digital identity. Enable two-factor authentication. Be wary of texts from people claiming to be someone you know. Verify in person or with video calls when possible. Tyler's plan worked because Vanessa never thought to verify it was actually Blake until it was too late. And if something feels wrong, investigate. Trust your gut. Push for proof. The DNA test saved my marriage and exposed the truth. We're not fine. We're healing. But we're healing together, and that's what matters.